Yo, and welcome to another one of my tips and tricks videos. This time it's for Dragon Soul release. So yeah, as usual, I will be going very unscripted and going through VODs of each boss in Dragon Soul and kind of talking about basically what I see that I can give you hints about improving your gameplay. And things that might not be obvious, but also that things that might be obvious to some, but just restating them to help you guys out. I won't be going through like the strategies of the bosses or like assignments really. They are usually better taken care of by your guild or by boss strategy guides by other people. This will be from the healer POV, and yeah. I want to start off by, I guess, showing the talents I would recommend use in Dragon Soul. So it's a change from the Firelands talents. In Firelands we used a lot more Word of Glories, a lot less Holy Radiance value because of the nature of the spreading out on basically every Firelands fight. In Dragon Soul you are a lot more stacked, and when you are spread out, it's not as important. Like usually when you're stacked up is when you need to do the healing. So the talents have changed. You no longer go for Eternal Glory, and since you don't go for Eternal Glory, you also get more points you can reach Pursuit of Justice in the red tree. So what you go 31 Holy. You don't max out Last Word because you need that extra talent point to be put into Retribution. But yeah, you go basically take all the standard talents. One big difference is that you go back to the pre-Firelands build where you don't max out Tower Radiance, and instead you go for Blessed Life, because Blessed Life gives you a lot of value in Dragon Soul. You go 1 point here simply to get the holy power from Holy Radiance, but you don't get the extra chance to get whole power from healing the beacon, but as I said, you will not be healing the same way as in Fireland, so it's not as important. Best Life, you go Light of Dawn, you go 3 points Divinity, and then you go down for Pursuit of Justice, basically only for the movement speed. So you get 15% movement speed, which means you can also drop, I see I haven't changed it here yet, but you drop the Lava Walker on the boots and go for the Haste enchant instead. Do I have one in my bag? I don't. So yeah, that's basically what you aim for. Oh yeah, one thing I can also say, like I forgot to mention in my Firelands video, is like everything you see here, my add-ons, my macros, especially the MRT nodes for every boss that we are using, they are available on my Discord for Twitch subs. So I would recommend going to the description of this video and joining the Discord. Even if you don't intend on subscribing, I still recommend joining the Discord because you get a lot of good information about new stuff happening in Dragon Soul, gearing, or just frequently asked questions that I get on my stream that I push out on the Discord as a hub of information for Paladin mostly, but healer in general. So definitely join the Discord. So we're starting with Morchok, the first boss of Dragon Soul. Quite an interesting but also quite a straightforward fight. I guess the interesting part of this boss is that you are splitting up your raid. So you're splitting up your healers. I think most people or most raids will 6 heal this one, have 3 healers on each side. We will be 5 healing it. So we usually 4 heal this one, but for the race we will have an extra healer just for the extra safety, as a wipe would be real bad in a race. Yeah, the dangerous part about this boss is the overlaps of the stomps into crystals, where you will need to be getting people safely out of like one-shot range from the stomp. There's also quite a lot of tank damage while the stomp has gone out because the tank gets the debuff. But as a paladin, together with my priest healer, I am not focusing the tank that much. I'm just holy radiance in the group. It's very important to have your raid members understand that they need to be stacking up for Holy Radiance healing. If they are spreading out, it just makes it a lot more annoying to be able to get the healing output that you need. At least when you 2-heal it like we do here on this side. So yeah, you saw for the very first combination of stomps and crystals, I used basically wings and divine favor, because that's probably the hardest part of the fight, is just getting through that without anyone dying. There are some stomps later on, as you can see, I guess, in the note. But these are ones we cover quite a lot with both the power barrier, anti-magic zone, divine hymn, and also a rally that we get later on. So the hardest job for me was the start, actually. But yeah, after you have like learned how much healing you need to be putting out, like when the pain points are, it's quite a straightforward fight, as I said. But yeah, this is quite an annoying part of the fight, is that these crystals can spawn from both of the bosses in quite weird places. But it should be easy to manage. As you can see, I don't really feel like I'm in danger right here. Because the damage events are spread out quite a bit during this part. And yeah, as you can see, sometimes you can control yourself while you're under the ground. If you try to control the camera, you can actually get out of the place before you actually get unstunned or whatever. You could be using aura masteries, like with Divu aura, to reduce damage taken from the stomp, but I found it's better to use it for the crystal, reduce damage taken from the shadow damage you take. And unless you have a shaman with the healing stream totem and the extra resistance from it, you need to be swapping your auras if you want to do the aura AM, so I found it's more annoying. But you can see the damage they do is increased a lot at the end, so you basically want to kill the boss as fast as possible once it's sub, I think it's 20%. Yeah, but there's not much to say about that. It's managing the stomps together with your healer or healer friends on your side. So the second boss we do is Zon'ozz. This is also quite a healing intensive fight, but you're not healing the entire raid when the healing is at its most intense. So you will be basically, I mean, depending on your strategy, but you will not be healing the entire raid. You will be healing like a group of people that you are assigned to. So you basically are saving all your CDs for those healing intensive fights. But you can see here we are not dispelling all the debuffs, so we tried some different things, and we found it was easiest to just heal through the debuffs. But we also have the mages pre-spread out around the bosses, you can see. So those people are already pre-spread, so I'm just insta-dispelling any mage that gets the debuff just to reduce damage taken. As you can see here, Scarp is insta-dispel, and now we don't need to heal him. But yeah, the rest of the people are just staying in, doing damage to the boss, and we are out healing the debuff. And bouncing the ore between us and a mage every time. But yeah, save all the CDs. The most healing intensive part is when you bring the ball into the boss. So it starts here, and you see we get debuffs here, and the most healing intensive part is at the start, because every time they kill a tentacle or these ads, you reduce damage taken on the raid. So it's very important to start out by just instantly healing. You don't want to fall behind from the very start. So I'm healing like a couple of people standing on me on the blue, then I'm healing 2 melee that are standing a bit further away. So I'm holy radiancing 5 people here, but it's still it's very inefficient healing, but it's more HPS than spamming divine light. So that's why I do it. I alternate between holy radiance on the group I'm healing and light it on, and then throw a couple of Divine Lights onto the melee. And then we're back to the same thing as phase 1. I think it's that stood and soaked a Mage Orb, not good, not good. So, very possible movement. So you seal up the debuffs here. You need to be careful about your mana usage here, so you will get another phase where you need to be spam healing your group again, and you cannot go basically. So even if you see, oh, there's a lot of healing to be done here, you need to be aware of your mana and aware of your co-healer's mana. So if they have, as you can see right now, I'm lowest mana of everyone, so I could be pushing more, like they get to do more of the healing at that point, since I'm so far behind on mana. I think even in this video I go at the end here, but we managed to heal still. So for the second one I'm using Guardian of Ancient Kings as my CD, while on the first one I use my Wings and Divine Favor. I will be getting back my Wings here as well, usually at the end of it. I still have my Lay on Hands if I need it, so I still have 10% extra mana to use as well. But we were fine here. As you can see with the note, we don't have every CD assigned. It's because we assigned some CDs to the Disrupting Shadows, to the dot, and coinciding with the bowl hitting us. But the other CDs are used on like when the healers need them for this intermission phase. They are sort of free for all, how they see fit. So we only need a couple ones to just keep it steady once we are in this phase. Yeah, bouncing the ball back and forth here. What we do, what people might or might not do, is that we will bring it into a third stacking phase. Basically to get the debuff or the buff on the boss to do more damage to him in the end, to kill it faster. But that's a phase where you just stack up and heal as well. Okay, we're gonna bring the ball into the boss, and now we all stack up, ignore all the ads and just nuke the boss. Use all remaining CDs, any remaining mana you have. Yeah, a lot of Holy Radiance value in this raid compared to Firelands. Not much to say, I guess. Okay, and the third boss we do is Yor'sahj, if you pronounce it like that. Quite a like chill boss. Like there's only one moment in time where there's like insane amount of healing required. Outside of that, it's kinda, I wouldn't say boring, but it's kinda dull. You have to be very careful with healing, since there's the purple one can really, yeah, it can wipe the raid if you heal the wrong targets. So I guess I can just fast forward. So yeah, you should know about the strategy of the boss already, but the healing debuff, yeah, you don't want it to reach 5 stacks. So with my healing frames, what I do is that I have all the debuffs. When it's 1 or 2 stacks, I think, then the frame will be yellow. That means that basically I am free to heal that guy. Because you still need to heal people here. The best way to heal people here is your biggest, largest single target heals, like Divine Light. You don't want to Holy Shock people. Holy Shocking is actually really bad, because not only do you get a stack on the people you Holy Shock, you also yourself gets a stack every time you Holy Shock. It's some bug with the spell. It does have nothing to do with any talents or any gear or items or trinkets, just how the spell works. So yeah, Divine Light on targets that needs healing, that are low stacks. And then if you don't need to heal anyone in the raid, but you still need to heal a tank, you are free to heal the pets. Pets don't get a debuff, and your beacon will transfer to the tank without triggering. You can also Crusader Strike the boss. You can also Holy Shock Oh, never mind, you shouldn't Holy Shock the pets even, because you yourself will gain a stack. But yeah, Word of Glory is a spell that also doesn't give stacks to your target, so you can Holy Shock freely on anyone. So you can see here, if they have 0 to 1 stacks, they will be orange on the raid frames, so you can heal them. 2 stacks, they will become like normal color, so you can heal them, but you should prior the people with the yellow frames instead. Let's see if you get someone with 3 or 4 stacks. Yeah, so 4 stacks. Cannot heal this guy. If you heal this guy, it will be a massive AoE damage on the raid. Most likely gonna cause a wipe, because this is the very start of the blob phase. You can also see I'm tracking the corruption duration with a bar here. So 30 seconds, or yeah, whatever seconds duration the buff is, it will drop and everyone will lose their stacks and their debuff for like a second or 2. So you can also snipe heals in this downtime that we get here. So here you can see no one has any debuffs or healing absorbs or healing stacks. So you can freely heal here, but it's quite fast, so now they get it back again, so now you need to be back to healing. Prior to people with 1 or 2 stacks, or 1 or 0 stack rather. Here you can see, now we're not taking any damage from anything. So even if you see someone who's like 1 HP here or like low health, you shouldn't be stressing, because they no longer take any damage since you have killed all the ads and the intermission has started. So don't be panicking here. Let's see, we stack on the boss, it's gonna be AoE damage from the yellow, and we're gonna have ads. This means this is the most healing intensive part coming up. And you can see, I have been saving my wings and Divine Favor. I haven't used it, even though it's been like 2 minutes of the fight. My wings has not been used once yet. So this is what we call a dangerous combo, or I guess it's the red, black and yellow ones. This is where we use every single healing CD and stand stacked as a raid, which you can see will happen. So we start out with my AM, and here like you don't really care about your mana. Once you have the raid at a point where it will be never healed up to full, you can just ignore your holy power and spam holy radiance while capping your holy power, as you can see now. It's more healing per second to just spam out holy radiances like this. And you don't care about your mana because you have such long downtimes between the different phases. Of course, if you're going like this, like I am now, then you can throw in some Light of the Unsleeping. But that was the phase. It's very short, so even though you saw I started at full mana, and the phase lasts for like 30 seconds. I spend all of my mana to keep people up here, and that's doable. It's not a bad thing. It's definitely something you should try and do if you're doing the same strats that we're doing. So now and the thing about this boss is that you cannot get the same ooze spawns as you have gotten before. At least that's what I think. We have never had that issue. So that's why you can just completely waste everything on that one dangerous combo. You will not get it again. But yeah, as you can imagine, sometimes you don't get that combo until like maybe 6 minutes into the fight. You still don't want to use your wings on Divine Favor before that, because you need to be up for that part, and there's no moment where you can use it safely and make sure you have it up back again. You basically have to hold it until you get that phase. Now we get another healing phase with the healing debuff. Spam heal divine lights on targets that are not gonna explode anytime soon. You also have to be careful about incoming heals. Like if you're healing someone who's already gotten an incoming heal from another healer, you don't wanna like double stack it up and explode someone by mistake. The mana void is, your raid takes care about the mana void, but you should use your divine plea after you have lost all your mana to help regen. Hit the boss or hit the mana void as I'm doing here for a lot of mana regen from just hitting. Yeah, there is not that much to think about. Green, you spread out. Still be careful. When you get 2 mana voids back to back, you usually have mana void back, like kept from the previous one. So that one you wanna get mana from. So you need to make sure that you stand. You can see that AoE it does when it dies. I think it's like 20 yard range. So you need to make sure that you're not standing too far away from the void so you get back mana. You can see here, this is the circle. So this guy, for example, didn't get mana. So, but it's usually a lot easier when you're not doing the green spread phase. I don't think there's much to say other than that. The most dangerous part is, as I said, the red, black, and yellow. Ads, simply heal through. Oh yeah, if you see someone who's fixated, you can bop them and they will obviously stop taking damage from the ads. But you should save your bops for when there's a healing debuff. So if there's a healing debuffs and there's ads, and you see someone who's targeted by 1 or even 2 of the ads. Okay, that one exploded, that's not good. Wait, what is this? Oh, we're killing the boss. Oh yeah, I forgot. We were pushing weirdly. Yeah, so if you have... let's see. I actually used my bop here. So yeah, you can see here, you have... yeah, so this guy is... You want to bop someone who's low HP, who is getting fixated and maybe has a couple of stacks. Like this guy would have been 100% dead without the bop. So it's very nice to save it for when you have the healing debuff and you have ads. Probably during this phase when you have red healing debuff and ads is the time where you wanna save it for actually. Because if you have healing debuff and ads and something else, it might not be as scary. But yeah, that's Yor'sahj. Very long boss fight. And this is the number 4 boss, yep. Hagara. Yep. There's Frost and Lightning Phase. Lightning Phase is kinda like whatever, it's very easy to heal through it and goes very fast. Frost Phase is the one that's more challenging in terms of what movement, but also keeping people alive, and you also have the dispelling going on. So yeah, so what would you, yeah, depending on your strat, you can do it different ways. We have a caster camp and a melee, or like a melee side and a caster side. First thing first, you can see here I am tracking the debuff of people standing inside the zone. Sometimes this one bugs out, so if you are running out from at the start of the phase, you run out, but you still have the debuff. That means if you're standing like here and you still have this debuff, you need to run in and out again, and then you will lose the debuff. It's something you need to be aware of. Maybe need to call it out if other people don't notice it. But yeah, so what you do in this fight is that you dispel this frostflake debuff and it will put ice on the floor. But if they are inside the zone, it will not spawn a frost patch. So what you do is that you are looking for this debuff of anyone in range, and once they get this red, I don't even know what this icon is, a water global spawn debuff, then they are free to dispel. Like you can insta dispel when they get this debuff, and they will, like here you can dispel. We also have a weak aura for it, but that's requires them to manually press something. Yeah, what you want to do is you stand outside the zone in the middle and you dip in for the waves. So your stunning stack up as a raid, so you get a lot of value with Holy Radiance. But yeah, your job is to keep up your side of the raid while they are killing the crystals. I think this was a very slow phase 1, so it lasts longer than usual, but it's very easy to see when the damage will happen. So whenever people are dipping in for the wave, that's when they will be taking damage. You can precast a Holy Radiance on them, go in, go out, and then just Holy Radiance them back up to full. They shouldn't be dropping to, they shouldn't die before they're out again. Between the phases, it's only basically tank damage and the Ice Lances doing damage. Ice Lances, if they are being managed properly, they will not be dying, like barely need healing almost. But the tank will be taking a lot of damage and need to use the CDs correctly. Ice Block, yeah, whatever you do with Ice Block in your strategy. Ice Block is kinda annoying because you don't get a debuff and you don't get any like combatology events, so you need to actually look for the blue marker above your head to see if you have it. Yeah, so the Frost phase is where you use your CDs. We have assigned CDs. The only thing we use for the Lightning Storm is Divine Hymn, so 1 Divine Hymn for every Lightning phase. You should probably only get 1 of each phase, or at most double of the phase you start with. But you can see this Lightning phase is already over. It's so fast, so it's not very healing intensive if you pre-position and do it properly. So what I would say is focus on here is the dispelling. Looking out for a debuff to know that you can insta dispel someone when they are inside the bubble. The water global debuff is probably the best tip I can give. It will also help them, like they don't have to AFK too much into the bubble and take more damage than they should. Other than that, heal people. You don't really need to dispel. You see, sometimes they get a debuff from the boss, but it's only a movement speed slow, so you don't really need to dispel it. I guess you can if you have extra time. Oh yeah, and this is an older video, I think, because yeah, we have different raid CDs here, but the aura mastery does not work in the intermission. Like the intermission damage you take, that frost damage is not resistible. Or like from the center zone is the damage you take, that one is not resistible. So aura masteries can and should be used for like these Ice Lance damage. Because if someone is soaking the Ice Lance damage here and he's low health, for example, and then he takes the damage from the boss, that's the cast she did here. That can possibly be lethal if you don't have enough healing. It's Shattered Ice that's targeting Coach here, for example. If that one is targeted on the wrong target, they might die. So it's a nice point to use Aura Mastery instead of using it in the intermission or like during the frost phase where it doesn't work. But yeah, that's the boss. We got another ice phase. You see this again because there's long enough time between the phases to get back all your CDs. AM and Barrier and Spirit Link and whatever. Yeah, you can see here. He has a debuff, he gets into the zone, dispel it. He can insta dispel this guy as well. Yep, he's cleared. Yep. But yeah, that's the boss. Should be. It's actually one of the easier bosses, so it shouldn't be that rough. And the fifth boss is Ultraxion, which I guess is the most healing intensive and actually the most fun in terms of healing output so far in Cataclysm. There is a lot of DPS required as well to beat the Berserk, but it's all about keeping people alive once the damage starts ramping up. So what you see, what you start out by doing here is every healer avoids the Bloodlust on the pool by going into the healer realm, or like the Twilight realm, where we don't get Bloodlusted. Because it's very important for all the healers to have the Bloodlust up for the end of the fight, where the healing is crazy, or like the damage is crazy. All you're doing up until the last like 1-2 minutes of the fight is that you're trying to conserve as much mana as possible. You are going to get, as a paladin, you are going to get the blue debuff, or like the blue buff, which will reduce mana cost by a lot, but you will still be using so much mana, even with that debuff, that you will have, you need to have mana to basically sustain yourself all of those last 2 minutes, about 2 minutes. So as you can see, we have of course the normal note with all the CDs we use, but I also have a personal note here to remind myself like exactly when I want to use my CDs, because it just makes it a lot easier. So I have my wings on a certain time, I have Divine Plea timed out, and I have my Divine Favor by itself, and wings. And basically all I care about is this last wings and Divine Favor timing. So the ones before that is simply just to stagger them out, to get a use of them, to conserve mana, to make it easier for the other healers also conserve mana. But you can see what I'm doing here is it's basically Holy Radiance. I try to time it with the damage incoming. So every time the raid takes damage, they just get a Holy Radiance. And as I said, the damage is ramping up, so as the longer you get into the fight, the more you have to like repeat cast of Holy Radiance to keep people alive and keep people healthy. But it's not until the very end where it gets fun. So what we're doing is at red debuff, we are getting it for one priest and the Resto Druid. I think the Resto Druid double dips somehow with the healing debuff, or like the red one. But for the green one, I am actually taking the green one, and then later on the blue one, I'm replacing the green one with that. Since we are 5 healing, we have 1 extra healing power up, so that one goes to the one of the paladins that are also taking the blue one in the end. But the green one is not that powerful, since it doesn't replicate the hot healing from Holy Radiance. So it's basically the initial heal or any like Divine Light, if you do that ever, is gonna be duplicated. But yeah, just staying alive, trying to conserve mana, trying to conserve like mana CDs as well, to have it up for when it's important. And the blue crystal is gonna give you a lot of haste, as well as the reduced mana. So once you have this debuff, you can basically, depending on how much mana you have saved, you can stop using Holy Radiance. You can stop using Light of Dawn, sorry. Because, yeah, you definitely, at least at the very end, you never want to be casting Light of Dawn. It's not enough HPS to keep it up. So you definitely need to be spamming out Holy Radiance every global you have. You can see here, now the fun starts. Just Holy Radiance every global. Make sure you're not Holy Radiance in the same target back to back, because you will be refreshing the hot that they are providing on the entire raid. And this is actually quite a challenge, because you can see people also are getting the debuff, so they're using the extra ability button to go into the realm. So you need to be careful to not heal them, or like start casting a heal on them, because you might just fizzle out your heal and you will not heal anyone, because they are line of sight or in another realm. So you want to be spamming out heals. You can be prioring like a warrior, for example, is one of the weaker players here, because your target and 7 other people will be taking more healing from the initial hit, and then it will fall off for the rest. So you can kind of prio heal the people you need. It's a very minor thing, but the most important thing is that you try to Holy Radiance a new target every time, so you're not refreshing. So you can see here, now we have Lust popped, we have Divine Favor popped, we have Int Potion popped. We are casting 0.59 second Holy Radiances. So that means you will be global capped hard. But yeah, I also found it's like at some point you don't even at some point you're just changing targets before you even know if it's gone off the cast or not. So you just move your mouse and hope that you're casting a heal on a new target, because it's partly the lag, but also the very fast cast time you have, and also that since you're below 1 second global, you are not making use of spell queuing. Like, you don't get the instant without micro pauses. You will also always have the pauses between each cast. So you and then you have lag as well. I guess on the PTR it's gonna be, on live server it's gonna be better for if you're a European player compared to this PTR lag. But yeah, that's this boss. Like, the big tip I can give for Ultraxion is that conserve your mana. You wanna have as much mana as possible when you get the blue buff, and you wanna basically be able to spam Holy Radiance without ever casting Light of Dawn. Like, that's the goal with your mana management, is that you wanna be able to spam Holy Radiance without going before the end. Let's see, what mana did I end on actually? I actually ended on quite a lot of mana, so it was super fine. Boss number 6 is the Gunship boss, or Warmaster Blackhorn. Quite an healing intensive fight in the very end. Especially tank damage is gonna be very rough. It's probably the most tank healing intensive fight. But you also still need to do raid healing, so it's a tight balance between raid healing, like getting people top before their wars, and also maybe prevent some shockwave deaths by people who are slow to move, but also managing the tanks not dying to the stacking debuff, and also the boss's gaining the increased damage the lower he gets. But phase 1, all about healing damage people take from soaking, both the big onslaughts and also the small ones. And the occasional damage from the humanoid ads that charge people that don't move away from the charge. Fire damage is gonna spread out through the place as well, so people might be standing in that. We have aura masteries for the big Twilight Onslaught soaks. But yeah, it's important to hold radiance on them up. Hopefully you can time it so you get it right. Holy Radiance hits right after damage goes out, so you get some healing out before everyone is spreading out. And then after that you wanna try and find people you can hold Radiance for good value. Like, basically, when you see a small one getting soaked, that's usually a safe spot to hold Radiance. Someone who see you going into it, because they will be stacked up. But other than that, you might wanna be casting some single target heals instead, when they are completely spread out and not soaking. Other than that, there's not, like, phase 1 is not that complicated. It's just keep people alive, keep people healthy so they can soak. You wanna manage your mana, I guess, so you wanna be entering the last phase basically with full mana, because the last phase is where the healing intensive part of the fight starts. So the big one. Is there anything I need to say about these ones? Not really. Soak. Try to precast the Holy Radiance when it comes in. You also want to say out 3 Holy Powers, so you can insta-light it on as well. Yeah, and when you have killed the drakes, I guess that's how it triggers it. Blackhorn comes. So with Blackhorn you have the shockwave, which you obviously need to avoid. You have the disrupting roar, the AoE damage on entire raid, where you wanna be far away from the boss so you don't get interrupted. And then you also have a healing debuff. The healing debuff is something you shouldn't try to spam heal up. It's something you wanna, like, basically take care of with the AoE healing you do that comes from the healing debuff. Like, when you heal the healing debuff, you will do damage to the entire raid. So you will heal up, and then it will be healing the debuff while you're healing up the raid. You can aura master it. It's shadow damage, so it's totally fine to aura mastery while you're taking the healing debuff damage. You can also immune it, like if you're a Paladin mage, so you should definitely immune the healing debuff if you get it. It's not a lot of damage though. The most important part here is avoiding the shockwave. Trying to heal people up so they are healthy in case they get shockwave, for example. You can also bop them to prevent damage taken from it if someone is like, you know someone is gonna be standing in it. But most of it is balancing the healing output here. Like, you don't need to do, ideally, you don't need to do any healing to the raid, because no one will be taking any damage until the next roar. So you have a very long time to get the raid topped. So unless people are failing and standing in shockwave and dying because they're low health from before, your prio should be to heal up the raid slowly, but make sure your tanks are getting the healing they need. Like here, it's still 10 seconds until we need to be topped, so it's gonna be easy for us to top the raid. Slow and steady. But yeah, the buff on the boss is getting bigger and bigger, so we're gonna be taking more and more damage. Wait, why did the Wisp die? To full health. Oh, yeah. That happens. I guess you need to be very careful with having CDs on the tanks. Slowly top people. Keep the tanks alive. Balancing the healing between raid healing and tank healing. The most healing intensive part is probably when you have a dragon up. Even though Warmaster Blackhorn is doing less damage because he's higher health, the dragon is doing more AoE healing and being more annoying than the extra damage you take from Warmaster Blackhorn. And once you have only the Tauren remaining, it's also easier for... It seemed to be easier for the raid to manage to stay alive or avoid shockwaves as well. Yeah, that's it. And the 7th boss of the raid is the Spine of Deathwing. Quite a special fight when it comes to healing, since you're not really healing people that are taking damage. You're healing people that get the debuff. The healing debuff is probably something that DPS don't really notice. Like they don't realize how much healing they need to be taking. But yeah, basically the whole thing is that you want to be healing the debuff so you can actually heal them if they need healing from taking damage from the grip or taking damage from the superheated. So the way I do this as a paladin is that I'm re-glyphing. I'm removing my lay on hands glyph to put in a beacon of light glyph, which is gonna be providing me with a lot more mana, since I'm gonna be swapping my beacon to a new debuff every time I can. And then I'm gonna be spamming Holy Light, Divine Light, Holy Shock and CD, using my Holy Power to heal the debuffs as good as I can. The pain points for this fight are gonna be the rolls, but also gonna be the superheated nucleus, like when the big ad is doing AoE damage and exploding. You should have links, spirit links, for those moments, so this should be easier. But also during roll is also healing intensive, mostly because when you do a roll, it's usually, or it's basically always gonna be right after you have killed a lot of corruptions. And before you kill the corruptions, obviously they are all spamming out searing plasma, so you will be having a lot of healing debuffs on the raid. So during the roll is when you have a lot of debuffs on the raid that you need to clear and avoid people dying randomly. I'm thinking, do I wanna explain anything specific? Yeah, here, my healing CDs is basically on CD wings and then holding my Divine Favor for the next wings every time. I think the important CDs here for me is the later part, when we're on the last platform, I guess you can call it, to have it up for their rolls there to clear the healing debuffs as fast as possible. But it's very efficient. Like, since you're healing debuffs, you're never really overhealing. So using your CDs on CD is very efficient healing. You don't really lose that much value by not having them up for like specific moments in the fight, as long as you have targets to heal always. You're managing your mana quite a lot here, like by deciding Divine Light versus Holy Light. So during times like this, when you only have 2 debuffs or like 4 debuffs but 2 of them are gone soon, it's where you can conserve mana by using Holy Light instead of Divine Light, or just not casting sometimes because you want to conserve mana to have it later for the hard part. So here we are killing the amalgamation. So we get a lot of AoE damage here. You can hold Radiance a bit to just keep everyone topped, and thanks to the Spirit Link you are doing a lot of healing onto everyone basically, thanks to Holy Radiance and Spirit Link synergy. Yeah, ideally you do 6 of those nucleus explosions to kill 6 of the tendons. And yeah, so you might not have been you might have been looking at it, but we are also, the debuffs are being taken care of by our priest. So the debuff is also a very important healer mechanic. So the red debuff that goes out on a raid, you wanna dispel that one, you wanna spam dispel one instantly on everyone until it turns into the yellow debuff. And that one you wanna leave on a player that doesn't already have the buff. So when it expires, they get a buff that reduces their damage taken by, I think it's 20% per stack. So if you leave it long enough, it's gonna be 2 stacks. And that's a buff you wanna get on the tanks as soon as possible. And after that, just on any raid member that doesn't already have it. But yeah, try to get it on tanks, leave the yellow one on the tanks, let it expire, and they get the damage taken reduced. Yeah, for the rolls, I don't know if you noticed, but when we rolled, what you can do is you go to the side without going into the root until the roll actually starts. Reduces your damage taken by a bit, and makes it so that you take like less damage and less likely to die, and it's a lot easier to heal through if everyone in the raid is doing that. Yeah, but the most important part here is how you deal with the healing of the debuffs. At the end of the fight, which this is a very long fight, so it's all about you managing your mana. But at the end of the fight, you're gonna have a lot of blobs or bloods on one of your tanks that's kiting. What you can do as a Holy Paladin is that you can glyph Holy Rat, and you basically have an AoE stun that hits all the bloods and will stun them. I did have the glyph here, and I always had it for, like, in case something happens. But we had a warrior with shockwave, so they were always on DR. So you don't want to be using your Holy Rat randomly and making them like immune to stun randomly. So that's all taken care of by the warrior. But if you don't have a warrior, for example, if you have a paladin, I guess that prop paladin will also be using Holy Rat glyph. So, but that's a thing you can do as a Holy Paladin if you're lacking the AoE stun. Yeah, he shouldn't be needing much healing, so even though you're now in the very last moments of the fight, you are still spamming healing on the healing debuffs. Like the 2 tanks that are tanking the amalgamation and the bloods, they should be getting enough healing from normal healing or your random Holy Lights, Divine Lights onto them. And the tank that's kiting should also not be taking damage. He should be calling for externals if he's gonna be taking damage. Your job is to keep the debuffs under control. And here we have some people that are not in the Spirit Link, I think. But yeah, very efficient healing if you are using Spirit Link. and spamming Horror Radiance. Since everyone, you will be healing 25 people, basically. And here's the part where you are right before a roll, where you have a lot of healing debuffs on the raid. So this is where it can be very scary for a healer. Because we don't have like a link for this, but this is where we use our trunk, and we try to use Paladin CDs. But also at the end of the fight, you should have a lot of people with damage taken reduced. So it's, while you are taking more damage, you are actually taking less damage, or the same damage, because you have the buff. But the buff doesn't do any difference to the healing buff, the healing absorb. So you still need to heal the same amount. It's like a weird thing where they take less damage, but they are not actually taking damage, so the healing required is about the same either way. The grips should not be an issue. Like if people are gripped and they need healing, then something has gone wrong. Like you don't want to be forced to heal the grips. They should have enough health to survive it until they're broken out. You can see here 1 tick, yeah, that's fine. But you might want to be prior targeting the people that are debuffed and getting gripped. And definitely they want to be using some kind of immunity or something in case they get gripped with that healing debuff. So yeah, end of the fight, kind of chaotic. A lot of bloods everywhere. This is all about just getting down the tendon. You ideally want to do it in 2 times, so now I know it's gonna be about a minute until we will be able to kill it, since we are bringing it down to 40%, 39%. And yeah, even though you are you seeing we need to kill this tendon, sometimes you don't want to be helping out with damage. Just 1 second of a DPS being alive longer, if they are almost dying, is more than damage you will ever do. So don't get tunnel visioned on the tendon damage. Keep healing. You might even have to do a 3rd tendon break. It's very rough if you need to do that, but it has been done. But you can see, 13-minute fight. It's a long fight. And the last boss of the raid is Madness. Madness of Deathwing. It's quite a fun healing fight. You're having very targeted prio healing onto debuff people. Then you have phases of a lot of raid healing. So it's quite a lot of fun. First thing you have to make sure is that this parasite debuff is the one you wanna be prio healing. They will be taking a lot of damage, especially when they are not able to get into the zone, this time zone we're standing in. Standing in the time zone with the parasite buff basically reduces the ticking damage, so it's twice as long between the ticks. But the way that the debuff works is that it doubles, or it increases in damage every time it ticks. So one extra tick in the end can be double the damage. If someone is taking 500k damage over the duration of the debuff, it might be 1 million damage if you have 1 or 2 extra ticks, because the last ticks do so much extra damage. If you can, you wanna, like me here, be in the zone, at least for a little while, because even if you go out of the zone, you're still gonna get some reduced ticks, thanks to the slow you had for some amount of time. The intensive part, the healing intensive part, are going to be when you bring the orb tentacle to, I think it's 75%, 70%, and then later on to 30% or something, when they spawn the blisterings on the tentacle. But it's all about using your AoE healing for as you want to hold them as long as possible, but you should still have up your CDs, like your wings and stuff like that, as the tentacle is dying, like the arm tentacle is dying. Because once it's dead, it does 0 damage. You instantly stop taking damage. So you want to try and manage your CDs so they're up for the last percentages of the arm, but you don't really need them after that. So you want to time it in a good way. And yeah, you also have tanks tanking these slammers, or what you call them. They're gonna be taking crush every so often, or they're gonna be taking impale every so often, which is a very hard hitting spell. I think here, oh yeah, that's well. Here we had a CD missing on the tank, so both the tank died, but also a paladin that was pressing hand of sack also died. But yeah, this is a fight where you can manage without the extra tank and the extra healer until the very end. When like during these early platforms, it's easier. It's easy to manage without. What can I say about healing other than that? No, it's basically not that healing intensive until you bring down the tentacle. You are also taking constant ticking AoE damage based on the stacks of tentacle. What you don't want to do, which we might have done for a while, is that if you bring down a tentacle, for example the one at the very start, but you don't kill it, and then you go to another tentacle and kill that one and continue on, the tentacle you first brought down with the debuffs will be doing damage to you the entire boss fight. So basically, don't multi-dot, or like don't bring another tentacle down enough so they start doing AoE damage. It's gonna be enabling a mythic mode of the fight basically, where you can see here the damage we take is almost all is from the burning blood, which is the AoE damage we take from the arm, depending on how low HP it is. And then you have some damage from these blistering tentacles, which by themselves is not much damage at all, but in combination with the burning blood is what kills you. So here you wanna make sure you don't have people dying. You can also kinda conserve your mana by not topping people, because you're gonna have so much downtime before the next damage event. So if you see that the tentacle is gonna die in 5 seconds, and you see people are full health, you don't need to heal them at all. Even if they're gonna drop to half health, you don't need to heal them. You can manage your mana in that way. But yeah, as I said, every time you kill an arm or a platform, you will lose the helpful boss, like the mechanics from the NPCs. So I think this is the first platform where we will be taking more damage from the blistering tentacles, because they will not be auto-killed. But other than that, it's the same thing again. DPS mechanics, kill a parasite. Yeah, here you can see, instead of basically getting less than 10 stacks, you're getting 20 stacks. And in combination with the burning blood, that's what you need to heal. But now, when you have killed those, it's gonna be quite a bit of a downtime until 30%. You still wanna be doing efficient heals, but you wanna make sure that you don't overheal. And whenever you're not healing, you wanna be hitting the boss, so you can get these small mana gains from the hit, but they're basically free. And now we get the blistering tentacles again. Gonna be a lot of melee damage. You wanna make sure no one dies. Then you're gonna have stop damage taken again, like reduced damage taken. But then at the very end, like sub 10% or sub 15% is when people are gonna be taking a lot of damage. So you wanna make sure people don't die. But also, if you see that you're gonna kill a tentacle, don't waste mana on healing people. They will be regen up while they're running and while we're waiting for boy to spawn, the tentacle to spawn, or the impaler. The most healing intensive part is, I mean, the platforms, it's here. Like when you are doing this platform, you no longer have the zone that reduces damage taken from the parasite, and you also have no slow on the Elementium bolt that will be coming in. So basically you will not be able to kill it before it lands, so you will be taking the AoE damage from the Elementium bolt. But the way we have set it up is that we have, as you can see in the note, we have every CD in the game for when the blast comes in. So that should make it easier to heal. So here we have the bolt spawning, we stack up, we start healing. If you have immunities, use them. You can also dip into the Spirit Link if you have an immunity, because you will be sharing your HP to other people. But yeah, that was one of the big pain points that you need to survive as a raid. And the next one is gonna be when we are bringing down the tentacle again. Like first the blisterings at 70% or 75%, and then at the very end, of course. And you can see here, this parasite, it doesn't really matter if it explodes at like sub 5%. It's healable damage. It's whenever the parasite is exploding at like half health, it will basically wipe the raid. It deals damage based on its HP. Yeah, it's all, here is a balance of, you don't want to be spending too much mana, or any mana at all basically, but you still wanna, you need people to stay alive, of course. And you kind of don't want to heal with Holy Radiance that much that you see people are getting to full HP before you pop your CDs, because yeah, that means you're overhealing and you're wasting mana basically. But there will be coming a point here when you want to be spamming basically, spamming Holy Radiance with still using Light of Dawn, but you're not gonna be topping people, so it's gonna be fine even if you spam a bit. Because at the, like, if you have a raid that has never been healed to full in like 20 seconds, any healing you do is obviously gonna be preventing them from dying at the very end. While if you heal someone to full and then they die in 10 seconds, it's like you can't really do anything except heal in those 10 seconds. Last phase. Same thing here with all the tentacles, is that as the boss gets lower, he will be doing more damage to the raid. So there are moments where it ramps up the damage taken towards the end, but the boss will also be cauterizing like Deathwing. So at some point there will be like a peak of damage, and then he will be cauterized, so he will be losing some of his stacks, so the damage will be subsiding again. Basically the point is, in the note we have shrapnels happening at a certain point. That's the main pain point in this phase, is when the shrapnel is going out and we have the stacks on the boss is high. Then you have like 20 more seconds or like 15 more seconds, and then after those 15 seconds has passed, that's when the damage goes down again. So you will be able to see it on the raid frames here, that whenever the shrapnels go out, that's when the damage is ramping up, and it's gonna be at its peak right after the shrapnels is going out. So that's when you basically wanna deplete your mana pool and just keep everyone alive, because once it's been cauterized, it's gonna be a lot less damage taken on a raid, and it's like you're kind of not chilling. But we'll see here. So this is when the damage starts ramping up. Shrapnel's going out. You need to be, the people who are getting shrapnel need to use the extra ability button, and they need to be a lot They need to be healthy basically. Damage we're taking right now is still a lot. Let's see if you can see. Then basically you can see here. Oh, I guess we killed the boss too fast. But basically at that point is also when you get the cauterize from the boss, and it's gonna be you're gonna be reduced. The raid damage will be reduced a lot. But as long as you keep track of the trapnels, that's when you wanna be basically spamming out healing here. This is the most healing intensive part in the last phase. I think that the guy who died here is just without the dream. Because if you're this healthy, you should be surviving. Yeah, no dream here. And yeah, those are all the bosses of Dragon Soul. Hopefully you might have learned something in my rambling here. I don't even remember anything I said, if anything was useful. There might be some errors. If I said something incorrect, I will be updating the description with that. Like if there's something I just said that was plain wrong, or if I get some new update that maybe you need to do something different to make it a lot easier, for example. But yeah, as I said at the start of the video, please join my Discord if you need any help with UI or add-ons, macros, gameplay tips, or basically anything. And yeah, thank you for watching.